VCU versus Florida State. This is Friday, Sweet 16. Who do you like and why, VR?
Love Florida State in this matchup. This is definitely one of the games I'm looking at to bury come Friday. I'll tell you that right now. Bottom line, I did a top 10 list, VR's value top 10. And
So let me get it. VR's
value
in
top
poetry,
10.
that's called alliteration when you have the same consonant. Did you do
Had
that
no
purposely?
clue, had no clue. But VCU made my overvalued list. And if Florida State wasn't so hot ATS, they were at the cutoff of the undervalued list for as strong of a team as Florida State is. Bottom line, right now, they're healthy. Florida State hasn't been healthy all year, missing key components of this offense and defense. They're 100% in the tournament, and they've showed that they're for real. More importantly, bottom line, like I said, VCU's stock is as high as it's going to get. Here it is. Early on, the public faded them against USC. The books loved it. They faded them against Georgetown. Books loved it. All of a sudden, there's a change of opinion in that third round, which is more or less what we call the second round, what we're used to. And the money was on VCU against Purdue. It was one of the heavier one-sided bet games. More importantly, it was the heaviest bet dog of the day. So the public cashed with a dog, and they're not ready to jump off this VCU team.
All right. Couple questions.
Go ahead.
One, let's quantify how much VCU has overperformed. They've covered by a combined 51 points.
Double digits every game.
51 in 2 games. Of the 3 most extreme ATS results the whole tournament so far, they've got 2 of them in their favor. So they're not just surprised to be in the Sweet 16, they're dominating. All right. So now the question is that a short-term aberration we want to fade, or is there something fundamentally going on? So my first question to you, if you're trying to convince me to fade them, is why have they played so well?
Simple. The three-point shot was dropping. They got momentum with the three-point shot, and they could have played 5 games in 4 days, in 5 days, 6 days, and they would have won every one because of the way they were shooting. Lights out, and they didn't face a team that's going to shut them down from the three-point line. That's the difference maker here. Florida State, #1 defensively in field goal percentage. They don't let you shoot well. They're 11th in three-point field goal percentage, defensive efficiency we're talking about right now. And more importantly, VCU has now had 5 days to cool off. That's the last thing you want when you're a three-point shooting team and you're dropping them in no matter what, no matter what kind of defense they're putting on you. VCU was hitting those threes from NBA three-point
All right, so let's talk
line.
about this. The thing about the public is when they back a hot team, there's some reason that team was hot. So the question is, there's 2 ways that fading the public who is backing a hot team makes sense to me. One is if they overreact. If you say, yeah, you're right, they are better than we thought. They did win those 2 games, but the public's overreacting to it. That's one way. Or number 2 is the reason they were hot was not something fundamental, but it was something fluky. So what I hear you saying is that VCU's performance, yeah, there might have been they might be better. Well, let me ask you, what is their power ranking, VCU's, today compared to where it was 10 days ago in your mind? Is this team even a little bit better than you think? Or do you think all of its overperformance is the flukiness of the outside shooting?
I'm looking right now at my numbers, and I think it's all fluke.
So you're saying
they're
this
as phony
team,
as a $3 bill.
So you're saying this team is no better today in your mind than you thought they were 14 days ago?
To the break of dawn. Like Nicolas Cage said in The Bad Lieutenant,
That's
New Orleans,
great.
to the break of dawn.
All right, so I love that. All right, so that's interesting though. So this is what the handicapper should do. Is the handicapper should say, okay, the public, are they overreacting? Okay, maybe so. And is there fundamental reasons for this performance or fluky? You're saying fluky, and especially you're saying Florida State is fundamentally built to stop what VCU does best.
Exactly. That's the difference maker. That Florida State has, no matter who you put in front of them, you're not going to have a good shooting night. And when you rely on the outside shot as much as VCU does, you're in a lot of trouble, especially when Florida State's going to have such a huge height advantage. Their size, it's going to look like middle school playing seniors in high school or a high school team playing a college team as far as size goes. You'll see a big difference when them two teams are on the court in size, and they're going to have a lot of problems going up against Florida State.
Well, I especially like the fact, if for those who want to fade Florida or fade VCU, that it's a different arena now. And as you get further and further along in the tournament, the arenas get bigger and bigger, and that's really, outside shooting is a challenge. One of the key core competencies a team needs to win the tournament is good ball handling outside, but good inside scoring, because they can overcome the nerves and the bad shooting background. And you're saying that's a disadvantage of VCU.
Exactly. And they were hot, and it was a free roll after beating USC. Now all of a sudden, when they find themselves behind the Florida State and those threes aren't falling, this team's in a lot of trouble. I think it's going to be a lot more one-sided than most people think, and at least that 3.5 point line reflects.
I also like the fact, a good bit actually, that Florida State had injuries this year, because let's be honest, the average fan, one, they're going to maybe go look at their Sagarin rating or look where they are in the top 20 or look where they're seated, but pretty much none of that stuff. And they might even go into the box score or into the team schedule and look at their games they won and the games they lost. None of that's going to really tell the story of how debilitated the team was, what percentage of 100% were they playing at while injured. And here you are now saying they're as good as they've been all year, which I think is an inherent advantage, because most people won't account for the fact that those injuries occurred during the year.
And there's a reason now that they're healthy why they're not just beating teams, but they're even covering spreads. The market hasn't caught up with them yet. I mean, this is a team that, is 10th seed. VCU's an 11th seed. So neither of these teams were expected to get this far. Florida State, in my opinion, isn't a shocker for me. I'm not surprised. I was more surprised by the 10 seed that they got than them being in the Sweet 16, where with VCU, they shouldn't be this far. It's the three-point shot that was landing. It will not land come Friday.
Official projection.
Florida State 69-62, and I'm being generous. That could be 69-52.
I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever endorsed 2 picks out of 2. I'm endorsing it.
$sign, please. This one gets the double $sign.
All right, your turn to continue the conversation in the comment section with VR and me. And that's it for this week. Now, VR is going to be appearing on Today in Sports Betting, which is a podcast that I've been doing recently, and I've been hosting. That will be Friday morning. Just go to pregamepodcast.com and talk to you soon.